Hello, welcome to the Mythology Manifest. For today's video, I am going to be telling you a myth that is arguably more well known than Perseus and Medusa, and that is the myth of Theseus and the Minotaur. I hope you enjoy it. So, this story begins on the island of Crete, in a place that we now call Knossos, and the rulers here were the mortal son of Zeus, Minos II, and his wife, the immortal nymph, daughter of Perseus and the sun titan Helios, who was also a witch and the sister of Circe and aunt to Medea, the queen Pasiphae. I will be doing a separate video on Pasiphae soon, as I think she is a fascinating character within mythology and history. I say history because there is still a place that stands in Knossos on the island of Crete, and that's a palace, and it has been reported that in Knossos Palace there were actual historical rulers with the names Minos and Pasiphae. Anyway, continuing with the myth. Minos had offended the gods, and they were out for vengeance. But with him being the son of Zeus, they decided to give him a second chance. So out of the sea foam, Poseidon created a beautiful white bull, and told Minos he had to sacrifice the bull to appease him and the other gods. And then Poseidon returned to the ocean. Minos wanted to do as the god had said, but when he looked at the bull, he realised it was perfect and how it would bring in fame and money. I don't know why he needed more fame and money with him being a king, but maybe he wanted to increase tourism in Crete, or maybe he just liked bulls, I don't know. Anyway, Minos sacrificed a different animal in the bull's place and put that bull in a pen, and that was the last straw for the gods. Poseidon went to Aphrodite and said that they had all been disrespected by the king of Crete. But instead of them deciding to punish the guilty, they did something that was very common for the gods. They decided they would punish someone innocent, and that ended up being the queen of Crete, Pasiphae. Aphrodite used her love magic, or in some myths, she sent Eros down to Crete and made Pasiphae fall in love with the bull. She became obsessed with the white bull, and so had Daedalus create a cow suit for her. And then, in the cow suit, she went into the same pen as the bull. I'll say no more on that matter, as it's quite a disturbing myth anyway. But 9 months later, Pasiphae gave birth to a monster, a half-bull, half-baby boy, whom she named Asterion. But this creature's name was forgotten, and he became known as the Minotaur, or also known as the son of Minos, and they put him in a labyrinth in Crete that had been created by Daedalus. There is actually still a set of caves near Knossos Palace, even now, which is where the idea for the labyrinth came from. Pasiphae then became a social outcast and reject, and she isn't really heard from again in that myth, or any others. But Minos profited on the Minotaur, and had 14 Athenians sacrificed to the bullman every year to make up for the killing of his own son Androgynous by the hand of the king of Athens, Aegeus. At the same time as the birth of the Minotaur, Aegeus had received a prophecy from an oracle telling him to avoid women until he returned home. Obviously, like all of the stupid kings in mythology, he ignored the oracle and randomly married a woman called Aethra. And then suddenly, Aethra told him she was pregnant. She also told Aegeus that he might not be the father of the child, and that it might actually be the god of the sea, Poseidon. And so, Aegeus put his sword under a boulder and said that if, when the baby was born and grew up and was a boy, then he would be able to move the boulder and could be seen as his son. And then Aegeus left Aethra to raise the child on her own on an island where she had no idea what she was doing. So he was really father and husband of the year. Anyway, eventually, Aethra gave birth to a boy who she named Theseus, which meant to place. She raised him for 18 years, telling him of his dual parentage, and eventually Theseus moved the boulder and retrieved the sword, and began making his way to Athens to meet his father. He actually went through a lot on this journey, known as the Labours of Theseus, but because there are so many and it takes so long to go through, I will be doing a separate video on that, as I want to get through the main myth in this video. So Theseus eventually found his father, just as he was about to marry Medea. But Theseus managed to expose her as an evil witch, and so she was banished back to Colchis. After a few days, Aegeus was prepping to send 14 Athenians to be eaten by the Minotaur, and obviously Theseus decided to play the hero and volunteered to go. I like to think of this moment as Katniss in the Hunger Games, who volunteers as tribute. And Theseus said that he would kill the Minotaur to stop the Athenians from being eaten. Before the boat to Crete set off, Aegis told Theseus that if he survived and escaped, then he should change the colour of the sails on the boat to white upon his return, so that Aegis knew he had survived. Theseus said that he understood, and he and the 13 others began sailing to Crete. Upon their arrival, they were thrown straight into the entrance of the cave of Knossos, where they were to sleep for the night before being let into the labyrinth and given to the Minotaur in the morning. However, the daughter of Minos, who was called Ariadne, had seen Theseus come off the boat and had somehow, at such a distance, decided she now loved him. She snuck into the cave that night and woke Theseus up. She told him who she was and that she loved him, and that she would help him if he said he'd marry her. Theseus said he would, and Ariadne believed that her brother was a victim in all of this, as he didn't choose to be a monster, and so she gave Theseus a magical golden string that would continue to stretch, which he could use to navigate his way in and out of the labyrinth, and she also gave him a sword. Theseus asked her to hold the end of the string, and he went into the labyrinth. The string wrapped round the corners so he would be able to trace it back to the entrance when he needed to leave. He eventually found the Minotaur, a massive half-bull, half-man, who attacked him immediately. The fight didn't go on for long, as Theseus was faster than the Minotaur, and so he ran behind him and stabbed him violently, going through his back and eventually through the Minotaur's heart. He then turned and ran back out of the labyrinth, got all of the other 13 back on the boat, as well as Ariadne, and then they escaped Crete under the cover of night. A few things happened on the way back to Athens, but I want to cover them separately in another video as well. But to summarise, Theseus ended up leaving Ariadne on an island alone. It must be a thing in that family. He also forgot to change the sails, so by the time the ship could have been seen by Aegis and Athens, Aegis saw that the sails were still black, and so he jumped into the ocean, killing himself, which is why we have the Aegean Sea. After this, Theseus became the king of Athens and had many more adventures over the years, and I will be covering those in my next few videos. But that is where we'll leave Theseus for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment or subscribe. This channel also has a Twitter account on which I let you know what video is going to be released that day, so please follow if you're interested. Let's keep classics alive. I will see you next time on the Mythology Manifest.